promote the sharing of useful knowledge. Many people know me as a scientist, a statesman, and a publisher of works such as Poor Richard's Almanac. First, as a scientist, I appreciate the vital role that observations play in understanding issues such as global warming of our lands and our oceans. I am proud that my measurements of the Gulf Stream, taken with my grandson over 2 centuries ago, are now being used for reasons unforeseen by me or any of my contemporaries. Second, as a statesman, I understand the need for international collaboration in making observations and analyzing them. This collaboration is done through global projects such as ACRE. Their goal is to recover, digitize, and analyze historical global weather observations. Truly, a climate record of the Earth. Lastly, as a publisher, I know that for any work to make an impact, it would have to be widely and easily accessible. Google is making this information freely available and investing heavily in the public's useful knowledge. I once asked, who is wise? The answer is, he that learns from everyone. Collectively, I would suggest that Google and other such offerings are indeed the new electronic almanac for these times. How can all of this information be used? How does my work, in some small part, help solve the problems of today? In my autobiography, I describe in detail a plan to better one's life and the world around them. You want to make sure all your things have their places. As a small example, you will start with bits and pieces of information such as my ocean readings, and then sequentially, through many steps, you will end up employed in something useful. Energy and persistence conquer all things. With Google as a backdrop, here are my original observations from my 1785 voyage. These were taken when I was returning back to the colonies, states, from my time in France. You can see that with the help of my grandson, we meticulously measured many items, including the temperature of the seas. In the middle of the trip, we had also derived a clever way of involving cork in a barrel to try to read the ocean temperature deep in the ocean. This additional experiment helped us theorize that the current was indeed a stream on top of the ocean. This is a famous chart that, with the help of others, I had drawn up of the Gulf Stream. Interestingly, I had my skeptics. No problem. By having this presented to my contemporaries overseas, I fulfilled my scientific integrity. Nonetheless, the statesman in me was happy that it had been rejected out of hand by those overseas so that we could use the more speedy routes in our military crossing of the ocean. After many years, I am glad that we can once again enjoy the fruits of our many collaborations. There are 2 things on this slide. First, you will note my observations are indicated by these individual colored circles from right to left. Each color represents a temperature reading. Secondly, as a backdrop, you can see the changing color of the ocean representing the more recent temperatures for each region during each day of my voyage. An interesting comparison of my readings to present times will follow. Again, with Google as a backdrop, we can compare my readings to present-day averages. Of course, there are other such variables as instrumentation difficulties and sample size, but it is interesting to note that if the seas haven't been warming up since my day, then the values would fall along the diagonal line. You will see a large preponderance fall below. This is just a start of a long process of trying to analyze how much our seas are being affected by global warming. There have been many debates over the years about the Gulf Stream. In the chart to the left, it was theorized that there were many streams. However, in the 70s, the 1970s, the Gulf Stream, through fancy satellite imaging, indicates a stream remarkably close to my initial readings with a thermometer and cork and barrel. Sometimes hunches and observations pay off. In this chart, you can see the impact of higher ocean temperatures on intensifying hurricanes. Even a small increase in the ocean temperatures can give rise to stronger hurricanes. Much debate ensues in the scientific community. Here are 3 indications of the impact of global warming. The total average Earth temperatures are increasing, the average sea levels are increasing, and the snow cover is diminishing. Here's a map showing hurricanes around the world by region. This chart shows current data recovered back through 1850 and what we hope to be able to recover in the future. I once said genius without education is like silver in the mine. In today's internet world, observations that don't become information are indeed an untapped resource. I also once said, hide not your talents, they for use were made. What's a sundial in the shade? Who would have known that tediously using a thermometer with my grandson centuries ago would not only greatly impact our lives in the charting of the Gulf Stream, but would still be quite useful centuries later. Just like a rolling stone gathers no moss, an unused thermometer gathers no information. I'll leave you with a final thought. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest.